Hi, welcome to the Abundance Institute. Also, welcome to the Abundance Lab. This is the the introductory presentation that I have for the program I have that goes along with my book, The Abundance Experiment. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. If you're interested in the book, if you're in the school community, you can download a free PDF. If you're not in the school community, there's a link in the description below so you can go get a copy for yourself. Anyway, um, but without further ado, let's get into it. So this is the introductory to the book itself and what this course is about and what I'd like you to learn. So what I really want you to start thinking about through this is to be thinking about this whole process as an experiment. I mean, it's called an abundance experiment, right? And it really it really is that. It's an experiment for me. I'm hoping it'll be an experiment for you, and then we can all kind of grow and change as you're going through it. But I think it'll be fun, especially if we work together. This is good stuff. So, orientation. Um, what I want you to do is what I'm going to ask you to do through the rest of the book is really start observing your relationship with money. Before you do that, um, you need to know what you're actually looking at. So I'm going to ask you to take a step back and look at things a little more objectively than maybe you have before. I talk a lot about the mirror principle. If you're not familiar with that, I'll talk about it a lot more. It's in the introduction that you can listen to the audio version of that on the YouTube channel and also through the classroom. But it's that principle from Hermeticism, that the principle of correspondence, that which is above is like that which is below, and that which is within is like that which is without. And if you've spent any time in the law of attraction community or manifestation community, anything like that, then you will have heard people talking about the mirror principle. And I'm going to dive a lot deeper into that. And this really is, I can't emphasize enough that this is an experiment. Um, I'm not making any promises that, like, by the end of this, you'll manifest like $20,000 a month or whatever. That's not what this is. There's other programs for that kind of thing. And what I've learned through my own journey of learning about law of attraction and manifestation and the power of prayer and like all that kind of stuff is that there are some fundamental things that you need to be able to shift before any of that other stuff will start to work. And that's what this course is going to help you do. Okay. So by the end of this first week, though, you'll understand why observation itself is the first act of change. I want you to really think about that. Observation itself is the first act of change. If you're familiar with Dr. Wayne Dyer, who was was he an early pioneer? I mean, he was one of the earliest people that I followed in the self-improvement industry. He has since sadly passed away. But he used to say that if you change the way that you look at things, then the things you look at change. And in later examples in the introduction, I talk about my favorite coffee cup and how I view that, And in the book called A Course in Miracles, it helps you understand that whatever there is around you, if it has any value to you, it's a value. It's a value that you have assigned to it. And I'm gonna go more deep. I'm gonna go more deeper. Listen to my English. I'm gonna go more deeply into those concepts throughout the course. But I really want you to understand this thing. Like, meditate on. I can't. My hand doesn't go all the way over there. Observation itself is the first act of change. If you don't look at something, if you don't know what it is, then you can't change it. Okay. All right. So the mirror principle. That which is within is like that which is without. I talk about this a lot in all of the stuff that I teach. It's a principle that comes up quite a lot. And the idea is that, like, money is not something that's out there. It's both external and internal. It's a reflection of our consciousness, not just circumstance. So I'm going to go more into that into week 1, but like I want you to meditate on that this week, okay? And the inner shapes the outer. Your beliefs, fears, and self-worth quietly architect your financial reality. They quietly architect your financial reality, what your beliefs are. Okay, we'll talk about a little more in the next slide. But if you change the within, you'll change the without. So this isn't magical thinking. It's just like the logic of the experiment. When you change, how do I say this? When you change the filter that you process information through, then those things kind of change. I mean, think about if you have like, if you're making coffee, right? And you run the coffee through a filter so you don't get grounds in it. Well, if that filter, if you take that coffee filter and you soak it in dish soap first, your coffee's going to taste like dish soap. Do you see what I mean? So you got to be able to use like a clean filter. Like for me, when I make coffee, I use unbleached paper filters that I know are biodegradable. Because I don't know when with the white filters that have been bleached, I don't know what else is in them. So it's just like raw paper. It's unbleached. It's fine. So none of that other stuff gets filtered into my coffee, right? And I know it seems disjointed, but think about it this way: that all of the things that are in your heart, your emotions, your limiting beliefs, your self perceptions, your perceptions about the world, your anger, your unforgiveness, like your love and your acceptance and your joy and your sorrow and your pains, like all of those things are in your solar plexus. They're in here. They get all of your emotions. Everything that happens gets filtered through that, including your relationship with yourself and money. So, next slide. We inherit stories that we never agreed to. Okay? So, before you ever earned your first dollar, your family, your culture, and your community were already shaping what money meant, what it was safe to want, who deserved it, and what did it cost to have it. So, here's a great quote. Work. Here's a relationship with work. Is that money only comes from hard work, or rich people are greedy. That's maybe some language that you have. And remember, like all of the language that you have, those are associated with emotions. They get stored in your solar plexus. So when your information processes through, it processes through that filter over there. Do you see it? So when I say that, you're running your coffee through a filter that's been soaked in dish soap, right? The dish soap might be that work idea. Money only comes from hard work. That's dish soap in your coffee filter. Or this one, staying small keeps me connected to where I come from. There's an old saying that in communism, people would ask, like, why do people not leave communist countries? And they would point to like a bucket of crabs, and they sit in a bucket of crabs. The crabs never leave the bucket because once one tries to climb up, the other crabs grab it and pull it back down again. And we do that to ourselves. In my work environment, in my day job, there's a culture in there, and we adhere to that culture. If somebody tries to step too far out, if you're doing something that's not in like the authorized, career path, then people are going to give you a hard time, and the language is there to kind of keep you in your place. So staying small keeps you connected to where you're from. Think about that. Think about that in your own life. Do you limit yourself on how much abundance you can allow yourself to have, because maybe your dad didn't make that much money, or maybe your grandpa has always worked at that factory, or I don't know, pick a thing. And then worth. You can also say, I'm not the kind of person who has a lot. I don't deserve more than I need. Now, there's a difference between saying I don't deserve more than I need and I'm choosing not to have more than I need. That's another distinction we'll talk about later, okay? Because remember, this is an abundance experiment to make sure that you are available to have those kinds of things. Like for me, when I think about like winning the lottery or doing things like that, that sounds terrifying to me. I'm not interested in that, But it's not because I'm afraid of the amount of money that would come. It's because I know that when you pour lots of money into somebody's life, if they haven't finished doing their shadow work, then there's nothing inhibiting the shadow, right? So if you look at the news today, Jeffrey Epstein, you look at Puff Daddy, you look at Donald Trump, you look at some of these characters who have like lots and lots of money, who have not done shadow work, and that money enables their shadow to come out and live in the rest of the world. So that might be something else that you need to work on too, is to work on your shadow, because like the more you come to terms with that and you understand that and you can live with your shadow and embrace your shadow, then the more you're willing to say, okay, well, I can allow myself to start having more abundance and financial abundance in my life, because I'm not afraid of the person that will come out if the chains are loosened. Do you see that? And then another one is safety. Having money makes you a target, or it causes more problems. And this is true. It happens. People with lots of money, they live in big houses and gated communities, and they have to have security guards and this all the other kind of stuff. But those are the things that we see, and you're going to have to decide what level of wealth do you want, and what do you want to do with that money? What kind of a relationship do you want to have with it? Right? These are very real things that become the dialogues that we have around this stuff. Okay, so here's your assignment for this week. I want you to go read or listen to the introduction. There's a link to the audio recording in the school community, or there's also the chapter is available on YouTube. Or read it. There's a PDF version, or if you have a hard copy, however it is, whatever. Read the introduction. But I want you to make a note in the book or in the PDF or on a notebook or on your hand or whatever of the things that really, really speak to you. I want you to think about that kind of stuff, right? And I don't want you to analyze it yet. Don't think about it too much. Just notice it. Just make a note of it. And then we can talk about it later. You can talk about it in the classroom, talk about it in the school community, whatever. And then we can help you unpack it from there. All right. So here's some prompts for you before you start your experiment journal. I want you to think about like what brought you to this experiment. And I don't want logical reasons. I want the real reason. What was it that pulled you here? And I don't want to hear, like, well, I didn't have any money in my bank account or blah, blah, blah. Like dig a little bit deeper. Like find the thing, whatever the surface question is that comes up, look for the thing that's underneath that. Okay, dig deep and find what that is. Second question is, what does abundance mean to you right now? Not what it should mean, but what actually comes to mind when you hear the word today. So for me, for example, when I think about abundance, it's in financial abundance. I think about, I want to be able to just get on a plane and fly out to Washington State and spend some time with my son and my grandkids without having to like plan ahead vacation time with work and save up leave and all this other kind of stuff. For me, that would be a financially abundant life. To be able to like live that life, that laptop life, to be able to live that laptop lifestyle and just go and do the things that I have to do. To not have to ask my boss if I can take a week off work to go up to New Hampshire to spend some time with my folks. That to me would be abundance. To have no mortgage and no car note, none of that stuff. To have all that kind of stuff just handled and done, and be able to just focus on the things that I need to be doing, right? That's what abundance means to me. What does it mean to you? Maybe you want a yacht. Maybe you want, to buy your own island. Maybe you just want to be able to pay your energy bill every month. Like, I don't know. That's completely up to you. Okay? Now, we talked about these invisible contracts. What invisible contract might be shaping your view of money? Which one? There was 4 different options. You can look back through the slides. Or maybe there's something else we didn't talk about. I don't know. That's for you to figure out. And then what do you hope to discover about yourself through the process, through this whole process, right? So give yourself permission to want something from this. That's really important to do. And then if you're in the school community, please go into the group discussion, introduce yourself, talk about your starting point, and give us a sentence about what drew you here, a sentence about what you'd like to release or learn. That would be great. And right now, money feels like, finish the sentence. Right now, money feels like what? So maybe it's excitement or anxiety or stress or optimism or possibilities or wet spaghetti. I don't know. Figure it out. You tell me. But share that. Do share that in the comments. So here's some thoughts about mindset for this whole journey that we're about to undertake. Is that this is really, really important to understand, is that you are both the observer and the observed. We're not watching somebody else's experiment. You are the experiment. And if you want to know more about that concept, I highly recommend that book, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, where he talks a lot about the self within the self, like our self-perception and the voice that's in our head and all that kind of stuff. Hang on. Gigi wants to say hi. Come here. She gets jealous when I do things that don't involve her. You good? Huh? Do you just want some kisses? All right. Love you. I'll pick you up in a minute, okay? All right. And then curiosity over control is really important. So you have to let go of needing to know what this means. Let go of needing to know what this means. Get interested in what's here. Don't, I got a dog hair in my face. Don't get too wrapped around the axle in this kind of stuff. You know, just like let it flow. Let yourself go into this and see what happens. And then observation is transformation. We talked about this earlier. You cannot transform what you don't observe. You can't transform what you don't track. You know, you learned about that in money management programs, because you can't change what you don't measure, right? If you don't know how much money you have, you don't know what your money's doing, then you're not having a good relationship with it. Anyway, and then the last thing is that there's nothing to fix. There's only truth to see. I don't want you coming in here and thinking that you're going to go through the abundance experiment and go through these classes and you're going to like finally fix your money problems. That's not what this is. You know, as you'll learn through this, as you go through this process, you're going to see more and more that your relationship with money is more of a relationship with yourself. So if there's anything at all that needs fixing, it may just be that you have some shadow work to do, or some healing work to do, or some forgiveness work to do, or some releasing work to do, right? But even that's not fixing something per se. That is meditative practice and spiritual practice and all that kind of stuff. And it's an ongoing practice that happens like for the rest of your life. So don't think that you're going to just like fix something and everything, it's going to be great now, right? You may heal some things and you'll notice some changes, you'll notice some adjustments, you'll notice some movement. All right? So, and then before we move on, let's see what we got. What we cover. Your homework is to read or listen to the introduction. We talked about those resources. Hopefully you've created an experiment journal. You can also download the PDF and print that up if you want, or you can just get like a regular old, moleskin notebook. I got my here. This is my I Ching notebook that I keep for myself. Reflected on the 4 journal prompts and posted in the week 0 introduction in the community. So make sure you've done all that kind of stuff. And next week is the mirror of money, your first experiment in direct observation. Ooh, it's very exciting. Anyway, looking forward to see you all in the community. And yeah, talk to you soon. Bye.